All right, troops.
Hello and welcome to That Mental Ginger Show with your host Andrew Durning, aka The Mental Ginger. Well, my 5 faithful followers, I've had a crap day. Work has been an absolute get. I'm not liking my 9 to 5. So I thought I would come back on the podcast, and before I introduce our very lovely guest, I'm just going to say, get the likes and subscribes up. I really need out my 9 to 5 and make this a living. Well, it's necessary. But enough about me. We're here to talk about the incredibly generous and talented Javier Salazar. Javier, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you here in my dining room.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure to meet new people and get to learn a bit about them. And then they meet me and go, why did I agree to come on this? This guy is really nuts.
So I'm glad to hear, though, that you said right now 5 faithful followers, and I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier, and you said 3. So I'm glad to see that there's some increase in there.
Yeah, well, we had a slight promotion. I was very excited about that. well, I looked on the statistics and it went, okay, estimated audience 5. Wow, 5 people actually take time out of their day to listen to this. To those 5, I'm sorry. So the first thing I like to do for my guests is I like to get them to tell our audience about their origin story, because if there's one thing we all have in common, it's an origins. So Javier, for our 5 faithful followers, please tell us your origin story.
Thanks, Andrew. So I'm originally from Mexico. I'm living currently in Canada, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I'm the CEO for a not-for-profit called Kids Up Front. And so I guess the origin story starts again back in Mexico. When I was a kid, I used to always get in trouble with my mom because I was always helping my friends with whatever they needed, and my homework wasn't getting done. And so it was always really good for me to go and help anybody with their homework or with their chores or whatever. And my stuff was always not getting done. And so I used to get in trouble a lot with my mom around that part of, your stuff's not getting done. And I was always very confused because but why are you mad at me if I'm doing good stuff? I'm helping people.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was always very confusing for me to, again, be helping people yet getting in trouble. And so a couple of things happened at that time. And one of them is that I realized that I love helping people. It was really clear to me then that I wanted to do something for a career, for a job, for down the road to just do that, to make people, help people with whatever they couldn't in general. It makes me feel good, makes them feel good. It's a big win-win. I always realized that again at an early age. The second piece that I found out, and this is again my mom's advice, and in discussing that part of why am I getting in trouble if I'm helping, she said, well, there's 2 ways of helping people. There's being there with them, helping them. If we were both in a hole, pushing them out, that's one way to help them. The other way is for you to get out of the hole first and then pull them out of the hole. And that may be a better way, because if you're out of the hole, you can help people in multiple holes, not just in your hole. Right. And so it allows you to expand that more. Obviously, in my mom's mind at that moment, she meant you got to go to school, you got to grow, you got to have a position and have a way in which, again, you can be outside the hole helping more people, because that's a better way. And so all that, those 2 pieces combined led me to start working for not-for-profits, for charities back in Mexico at the beginning. And then eventually, again, I moved to Canada about 15 years ago. And I landed again back in not-for-profits. I've done both kind of jobs, like the not-for-profit and the for-profit, but I always end up coming back to not-for-profits because I love that it's a rewarding job and I get to do what I love, which is, again, help people. And so about 3.5 years ago, I was able to get this position that I'm currently in this organization. And I've been loving it ever since, because it's really, again, the combination of a lot of things, mainly this part that I'm talking about on helping people. But also I have a soft spot for kids. And so obviously being able to do what I love and helping kids and make a living out of it, it's a great. And then in Canada too versus in Mexico. Don't get me wrong, I love Mexico, but I prefer Mexico for vacationing, and then Canada more for daily living, right?
Yeah, I wish I was in Canada. I've got relatives that are in Canada. The only time I was there was when I was 9 months old. So I don't have much memory of it. There was a rumor going around that my granddad held me by my nappy over Niagara Falls, saying, "Give me a reason." So I must not have been a good child.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the previous not-for-profits that you'd done before you came to Canada. What did they involve? Was there like a specific link, like with mental health, or was there a specific link with something else?
Right. So one of the biggest ones was Junior Achievement. This is an international not-for-profit. They have presence in about 110 countries in the world. They basically do entrepreneurship, financial literacy type of things. And so I used to be involved with them both in Mexico and in Canada. It's again a great not-for-profit and everything. So I spent about 4 years in Mexico and then about 6 years in Canada, working with them and everything. And that's basically, in a nutshell, this kind of like teaching business for kids, right? So that they understand the value of money and how to better manage their financial future, right? And so a lot of us always are complaining that instead of schools teaching things like calculus, they should be teaching us how to, like back in the day, we used to say write a check, right? Now it's more like all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of the skills that Junior Achievement teaches.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of the not-for-profits. I've started my own events and my own charitable things and everything. I've done one that is I did for the last 10 years in Edmonton here in Canada. We had to stop it because of COVID, but it's called Help Portrait. So on the side, just side note, I'm a photographer too. And so this is about getting a ton of photographers and makeup artists and hairdressers and any other type of volunteer to come together to a location. And then we get to bring in people that couldn't usually afford a professional photographer. And we take their portrait, we print it, we frame it, and we give it to them for free close to Christmas. And so it's a great way to just, again, give back as a photographer in this case. I've done other things supporting. I did a couple of big marketing campaigns, again, as a photographer, helping an organization called what is it called? It's an endometriosis organization in Mexico, and they're actually Latin America. And so we did a couple of campaigns for to support them, to promote what endometriosis is and everything. This is an illness that women have in their uterus. And so we did a little bit of helping there, and we ended up doing a couple of big campaigns. So I've always been involved in multiple different things like that. I was part of Scouts for about as a Boy Scout, I was about like 6 years, but then as a Scout Master, as a volunteer, I was there for another 12 years, maybe. Wow. So yeah, I've always been involved in a ton of things. Again, anything like Red Cross, and I'm the guy that goes to the soup kitchen all the time, and I'm the guy that is here in Canada. Like yesterday, for instance, we had a big snowfall. We had about 15 centimeters of snow in one day, which is, for the first day, makes it a little bit too much for some vehicles to handle. And so there's a lot of vehicles getting stuck in the road, and I'm the guy that goes there and stops and helps everybody out and everything. So it's always been part of what I do and who I am, right?
Wow, your heart and your soul is about as essential as your voice. I mean, like, your voice is like, caramel right now for me. It's just like, I'm loving it. And that was you saying, what pre-interview, that your voice had gave out because of the going to the soccer. All I can say is just keep going to the soccer, man. Like, it's just you've got that such a lovely tone to your voice. It's brilliant. So let's circle back. Awesome. I want to circle back to the photography parts of the story. So, what specifically got you interested in photography?
So when I was back in Mexico, I used to have a company that we were doing event production. So we were doing with the events, we had to really set up video and audio and all this stuff. And part of some of the clients that we had in event production started asking for videos to be recorded for either the events and eventually for training and that kind of thing. Like more, we got a couple that were commercials and all that kind of thing. And so I started grabbing the video camera a lot more. I had to learn a little bit more video, and we started. Julie and I obviously had a couple of people that knew how to work the camera and all that. And so I'm talking video cameras. And but when we were doing trips and we were doing all these big productions, I found myself always like helping with the video camera, right? And so they would give me the video camera, and I would start getting like all fancy and going behind a tree or going on a rock and then just getting different positions to get those cool shots. And eventually I found out that, so that's the photography side of video. That's the artsy part, the framing and all this stuff. And so that got my attention. And that's one of the pieces that eventually made me move to Canada. I started looking for, I'm going to tell a quick story in there. So quick little story within the story.
That's fine. We love what segues in this podcast. Fire away.
Okay. So I was, at that moment, I was already deciding to move away from Mexico. And I said, I'm going to pursue video or photography as a career. This is a change for me at this moment. I was my first, when I first went to university after high school, I went to study math. And so this is a completely different thing. You're going from the analytic side to the creative side. But I was liking it. It was different and everything. And so I grabbed my globe from the office, and I always wanted to do, how like in movies we see how they spin it and they close their eyes, and I wanted to do that. And so I said, I don't know where in the world I'm going to go, but I want to go. So I grabbed my globe and spun it, and then it just like put it in there. But I landed in the middle of the Atlantic, so that wasn't going to work.
I could just picture you just on a boat, like, right, let's take some pictures. Oh, it's all sea.
Yeah. So that
beautiful blues, though, so much sadness.
Yeah. I should have looked to see if there was like an island in there or something. But anyway, so I ended up doing some research and everything, and I looked into video and photography programs, and the one that I liked the most was a photography program here in Edmonton, and that was the actual reason why I moved to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada again. Obviously, part of the research included, what's around, what can I do, and everything. And here in Edmonton, we're 4 hours from the Canadian Rockies. I imagine you've heard of Banff and the Canadian Rockies overall, and those are beautiful places, man. So I have
definitely.
I've always said one of the first tips that I learned as a professional photographer now, after school and everything, listening to a photographer from National Geographic. They asked him, so what's your best tip for photographers to become better photographers? And he said, stop shooting back alleys and go shoot amazing landscapes. If you go and stand in front of something prettier, your photo by default will be prettier too. And so having the opportunity to go to the Rockies in here and just pull out your phone and take a photo, and that photo is canvas worthy, it's huge. I mean, I love it. Because of Scouts, I've always been really outdoorsy, but that combined with photography has been a dream come true here in Canada.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, if you ever do come to Scotland, I recommend heading up towards the Highlands. Some beautiful scenery up there, especially you don't even need like to be sunny. Like just having like the mists that we've got at this time of year. It's like, end of 2021, start of 2022. Like just having like the nice fog and like some of the beautiful mountains that we've got. That's fantastic as well. It's like it's like mini Canada.
Right. Yeah. It's in the bucket list. I've seen a lot of photos from there and definitely want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. If you ever come, you can crash on my couch. It's a comfy couch. I'll probably be crashing here tonight. I say that almost every podcast now. The missus is going to be so pissed at me. but in fairness, it's a comfy couch. but I'm not lying when I say it. So
That's all we need, right?
yeah, definitely. We just need a couch and a remote sometimes, and that's us happy. Well,
That's
women, take the hint. That's all we really need. Well, maybe occasionally bring us some fluid.
right.
That's it.
Snacks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little something. Like if you put me in a diabetic coma, then you're fine. You can get my money.
Right.
But the whole 3 pence that I have left. So
And then just look up for the right soccer game, and we're good.
yeah, like I get the 3 pence. I give 1 pence each to my twin boys, 1 pence to the wife, and then I'm off to the football. What is your who's your team? Like your football team? Well, since we love our different like pathways and this podcast, what is your favorite football team?
Right. Well, that's that's a very loaded question.
I'm a very loaded guy. What can I say?
So let's talk about most recently. So yesterday we had Mexico versus Canada here in Edmonton. In Canada, I like for me, like 10 years ago, I moved to Canada about 14, 15 years ago. So about 4 years in, I would have still be cheering for Mexico. Yesterday, I was cheering for Canada.
Whoa!
And one of the big reasons,
the cartel's going to be after you, buddy. You got to watch out.
Yeah, no, like forget about the cartel, my friends. Everybody's been asking already, like, what, you cheer for Canada? Yeah, and the reason is that you know what, like Mexico is gonna. So this is CONCACAF. This is the Central North America area of FIFA, right?
Yeah.
So it's the qualifiers for the World Cup, and Mexico's going to qualify, no problem. Mexico is the giant in CONCACAF, but Canada hasn't qualified. Like Canada has only qualified in 1986, and they qualified at that moment because Mexico hosted the World Cup. Therefore, Mexico didn't have to play, which opens a spot. Didn't have to qualify, which opens a spot for somebody else. And that's how Canada was able to get in. But they haven't qualified since. And so I'm like, no, we got to cheer for Canada. Like we got to get Mexico will qualify. So when Mexico doesn't play Canada, I'll cheer for Mexico. But yesterday, Mexico, Canada in Edmonton had to be Canada.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to root for the underdog, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm Scottish, so we're like perennial underdogs. We're just constantly like that, like the little Jack Russell nipping at your heels. We're always there. But yeah, and what about like do you have a club team?
Yeah, well, I haven't watched much soccer lately. In Mexico, the club team in Mexico that would be my favorite is the America Eagles.
Nice choice.
It's called Águilas Águilas del América in Spanish. If we go to Europe, then I would be cheering for the Real Madrid. So yeah, those would be kind of like my type of team. In the World Cup, I'm obviously cheering now for Mexico. Canada hasn't qualified, but I will be cheering mostly for Brazil once Mexico's disqualified. Yeah,
I love how it was like once they're disqualified, not that they get knocked out, just like they're gonna do something shady. Bye.
And I think for the Real Madrid is because when I was a kid, there was Hugo Sanchez, how we call him in Spanish. Hugo Sanchez from Mexico was the striker at the Real Madrid, and so that's the team that I grew up with because of him, right? He was the star from Mexico playing for Spain, and so or in Spain, and so that's the team that I grew up cheering for. So
yeah, well, there's a good Disney Plus documentary about the Galacticos that I would recommend that you watch, and it's about when Perez's first time at Real Madrid, when the first batch of Galacticos, Figo, Zidane, Beckham, Owen, when they all came, and you're getting the stories from the team beforehand, and Vincent Del Bosque, but before the Galacticos came, what their team was like, and then how it started to feed in. It's a 3-parter, but it's really good. I would thoroughly recommend it if you're a Real Madrid fan.
Definitely, I'll watch it.
There we go. I've imparted some useless information on my guest, but every day's a school day, as they say. And speaking of schools, schools to children, to not-for-profit. So let's hear about your recent not-for-profit. I got there in the end.
Right. Thank you. So Kids Up Front is a Canadian not-for-profit. We have 6 offices in Canada. I'm the CEO for the Edmonton office, which is one of the 6. And basically, what we do is that you're going to like this part because of the topics that we were talking about. Basically, what we do is to provide children with access to fun, enriching experiences.
Mm.
So the intention is that we were saying yesterday, I had a great time at the soccer game here in Edmonton. Well, how can we make sure that all of our kids have access to that kind of experience? A lot of us give that for granted or used to give it for granted, but I think with COVID, all of us adults have come to realize that having fun is more important than we ever thought of, right?
Definitely.
And that's because we were put in lockdown and because we were removed the opportunity to have fun was removed from us. So you get to see, going a little bit more to mental health, you get to see suicide rates going off the roofs through COVID, mental health, so depression, anxiety, and all this kind of thing, divorce rates, everything is starting to spike up. And the big part of the reason is obviously COVID and the lockdowns and everything. But the other side of the story is that we don't have the mechanisms to cope with that stress and that anxiety and those things, right? We all we start talking about again going to the game and going to the bar and going camping in the weekend or whatever that is, and all those are fun experiences that allow us to manage that mental health. It also affects the actual physical health side. There's a lot of endorphins being released when you're laughing, when we're enjoying. There's a lot of studies now even being done to the point of there's something that they're starting to again investigate more that is called mirror neurons, which says that when you're watching a game and so say, I don't know, Messi scores, your neurons are trying to mirror the emotions that he's feeling. And so you get to have the same emotional impact or similar emotional impact to what he's feeling. And that again releases a ton of endorphins and everything, which are great for your body. And so it also helps a lot with the physical side. Yeah, with the mental side and everything. And going beyond that, it helps you create memories with your friends and family. It helps you bond closer together with them. It helps you again just in general, for our kids, it lets them be kids. But so the organization, again, Kids Up Front, helps those kids try to have access or have access to all those type of things. So whether we send them to a hockey game or a football game or a soccer game, I'm sorry, I'm using soccer and football just to differentiate.
Don't worry, you can use hockey as well. Hockey is like the ginger's ideal thing because it's indoors, it's cold, it's at night. Because we've got like a weekend at a hockey league over in Scotland as well, and when my friends took me to my first hockey game a couple of years ago, and I was just hooked. Well, I loved it. I just loved. I loved the atmosphere. It was so family friendly. Even when they were punching lumps out each other. Well, and who doesn't love a Zamboni? Anything that begins with the letter Z just tends to be awesome, doesn't
it? Totally. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So hockey can definitely come into the fold with this one as well.
Sounds good. But we also send them to concerts. We also send them to plays, to theater plays, and all that kind of stuff. And then with COVID, all that got put on hold, right? And so we had to reinvent the organization a little bit. I started looking again at what can we do now. And so I think one of the silver linings of COVID was that it allows us to dig deeper into why we do what we do and understand that, well, fun can be packaged in a lot of different ways. And sure, sending a kid to watch, we have Connor McDavid here in Edmonton playing for the Edmonton Oilers. In terms of hockey, Connor McDavid right now is the golden boy. So it's almost the same as saying Michael Jordan for basketball.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing to be able to send a kid to watch Connor McDavid play right now. But we could also package fun in different ways. And so during the lockdowns, we were able to send kids sent home for the kids, different type of, like, I don't know, packages with supplies, anything
Mhm.
from chalk to crayons and different activities and coloring books and everything to keep them entertained, because again, that's one of the ways in which we can get to cope with the stresses, and particularly now with COVID, well, this is more needed than ever, right? And so
Yeah.
the organization has, again, the opportunity, has had the opportunity to grow a little bit in that sense, and to understand that it's not only the ticketed experience that we can get to use to transmit that fun, but also going home and everything. And so we've done private concerts, and we've done cooking classes, and we've done like all sort of online workshops and everything. So it's been a really great time for us to get to explore all the type of things and everything, all around the providing them with the access to fun. And the stories that we're getting are awesome, Andrew. It's like we're listening from people that have been stuck at home, like, because it's not only the lockdown, but even after the lockdown, they either don't have money, or they don't have the way to make it to a game, or the simplest one is it's been 18 months, man.
Yeah.
And so, like, you run out of, even if you have the resources, you run out of ideas too. And
Oh
so
yeah.
being able to bring in something different and new, and have a different game to play with your kids and everything, even just that makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I know that from being a dad myself, and that's so amazing what you do for these kids, and just what you do in general. Like, I'm on a really good run of speaking to people who are just, I think, just ambassadors for the good of human nature. Like, I've been very lucky getting such kind, amazing people, and I've had another home run. Well, that's a baseball reference this time. By getting you on, Javier. Like, I'm really feeling humbled by you and what you do. Like, I wish there was like a program like that over here, for our kids, and like to have better opportunities to speak to guys like you. You're an amazing person, and I'm really honoured to have got to know you. So we're
I
starting to
appreciate
come,
that.
but we are starting to come up on time. So I'll do. I'll postpone my normal end question because I want to know, what does 2022 hold for Javier? What other projects have you got lined up? Is there ways that you're going to take your not for profit in a different direction? Enlighten us. What's going on in that beautiful creative brain of yours?
I'm gonna give you the premiere of this,
I
because
always
again,
love a
last
ginger exclusive. I always love a ginger exclusive.
so we've been looking a lot at how else we can expand and grow this idea that I'm telling you. One of the things that we started looking into is that we typically don't give fun the value that it should have.
Mm,
For a lot of us adults, fun is the afterthought, is if I have a chance on the weekend, I will do this. I want to go to the bar, or I want to go to the concert, but
mm,
work is first, family is first. And we usually tend to put um, fun aside until we are able to achieve it. So it's not a first need. It's always more of a secondary need, not even a need. It's more of a want.
mhm,
Well, we've been working really hard on making people understand that fun and work and family are not opposites. We should be working on something that makes us feel good about it. That
mhm,
we should be working on our passion. We should be bringing in fun things to do at work so that we
mhm,
enjoy that time. Same with family. It shouldn't be quality time for our family, should imply fun, right? If you talk to a teacher and you ask a teacher what's the best way for a child to learn, they'll tell you play a game,
mhm.
right? Well, that's because it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to do as much as we can to let people understand what the actual power of fun is.
Mhm,
So one of those initiatives was we launched a podcast, and that's ultimately what ended up bringing me here with you. It's called The Power of Fun. It's available on Apple Podcast and Spotify and Google and everything. And it talks a lot about these ideas again, and we interview people that have used the power of fun to create a life that is a little bit more has more quality of life in general,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, so on that discussion of the power of fun, we were looking at, well, what's the next level? And we discovered one thing. Um, Everybody connects easily with what I'm saying, with the power of fun. Everybody understands it, and nowadays, particularly after COVID, everybody feels it more personal, right?
Mhm.
There's a stronger connection. Um, but once we discuss it, and I say, well, if you want to support Kids Up Front, come give us a hand. You can either donate or volunteer. That's very self-serving, which I, as a charity, I don't mind because they're coming to help me, and then I'm helping a ton
Yeah.
of other kids. So that's fair. But what if I could find a way in which, after this conversation with you, I could get you to not only help me, and if I could get anybody like you to help me, that's great. But what
Mhm.
if I could get you to then go and talk to other people about it too, instead
Mhm.
of just helping me? Do something that sparks fun around you.
Mhm.
And so that's what we're working on. We're thinking on a series of events that we're hoping to, I don't want to jinx it, but we're hoping to make it big. It's obviously going to be
Mhm.
run by our offices here in Canada.
Right.
Um, and so it's a series of events in which we can bring people together to have fun. And so kind of like a festival, we're starting to
Mhm.
think some of that stuff. And so anyway, we're going to be launching it fairly soon. We're working on some of the details. Again, still looking into how that could be. And this is a completely this is more of a call to action for people around the world. Like, go on and one of your typical questions at the end of your podcast is, what's your advice to manage mental health, right? And so
Mhm.
that's the same thing for me on this case, is go and create some fun around you, and you'll see really the impact of the power of fun. And not only it'll help you personally, but it'll help people around you, and you'll see a huge difference in your mental health, in your physical health, in your relationships, in your memories, in your, like, everything. Fun and the power of fun, Andrew, will really make a huge difference in all levels of your life. And so I think, again, that we're working on that. You were asking about the next step, and so I think it's a little bit on that. How could I give you a tool set to create that fun around you
Mhm.
and make you enjoy that power of fun in a constant basis, right? That's
Mhm.
where it's going, but more to come.
Yeah. Well, I also like the fact that the guest asked and answered my last question for me. It just saves me it saves me some breath. So thank you, Javier, for answering the last question for us. Like, what's the best advice for mental health? Have fun. It's very Occam's razor, isn't it? Simplest thing. It's the correct answer. Like,
Yeah,
just
sometimes we think it's going to be more complicated, but it's as simple as that.
yeah, definitely. Like, just do things that make you happy. Like, and I'll tell you something, Javi. Speaking to you has definitely made me happy. Like, I'm really, really pleased to have got to know you and just hear how passionate you are about the work that you do and the difference that you're making. But I would say, normally, in this case, you should run for politics. But I think you're too good for that. I think you need to stay away from them. Well, I think keep doing the work you're doing. And if they say, ever says that you should start a career in politics, tell them you don't want to work for the devil.
Yeah, yeah.
We need more guys like you in the front line. You're absolutely fantastic. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
we're going to come to Edmonton, Canada's favourite segment, Ask Andrew Anything. For the regular listeners, this is where, after me grilling the guest for 33 minutes and 35 seconds, we get Javier to ask me a question, and it could be about anything. It could be about, do you prefer salt and pepper, to who would win the fight between salt and pepper? So, Javier, do you have a question for this mental ginger?
I do. Let's see. Just in keeping up with the topic, what is your most fun experience in your life?
Oh, most fun experience. Uh, Watching my kids play. Well, watching them have fun just puts the biggest smile on my face, because they're twins. And they're identical twins. They're always so in sync. They work so well together as a team. Well, maybe it only lasts like 10, 20 seconds max before they're fighting, but then 20 seconds later, they're back to working together as a team. And just seeing how well they click and how in sync they are, it just puts like a massive smile on my face. Like get to see them be so like new and alive and figuring out everything in this crazy world that we live in, like, and seeing all the good in it. Like, a prime example is as a parent, sometimes you can lose your temper when you shouldn't, and I did that. Like Connor wasn't feeling well. I was trying to comfort him, make sure he was okay. Kieran kept kind of, nip, 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 nip. And I just turned, I was like, Kieran, I need you to be quiet so I can focus on Connor. And the second I said it, I knew the tone I said it was wrong. It wasn't right to do that. But I thought, right, focus on Connor, get him settled, get him calm, because he's the one that's not well. Give him his medicine before bed. And then called Kieran over and said, look, Daddy's really sorry. Daddy shouldn't have snapped like that. I just needed to focus my mind, because I'm always, even though they're 3, I'm very upfront about my issues with mental health. I know that they won't understand it, but for me, it helps me saying, but right. Sometimes when there's too much noise going on and around Daddy, like his mind starts to get a bit wonky, and maybe he'll say things that he doesn't mean. Well, I did want you to be quiet, but I shouldn't have. But the way I said it was wrong, and I am sorry. And he just went, "That's okay, Daddy. It was accident," and gave me a big hug. And I'll tell you, my heart just absolutely melted. I just wish that more people were like that. They could just go, "That's okay. That's fine." Right. And then I noticed the kind of reverse of it. A couple later on, what he was doing. He was doing something naughty, and I said, "Kieran, don't do that. That's not nice." He went, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I don't mean to make you sad." And I was like, "Oh, buddy, oh, thank you." Give him a big hug. Let's just get to see them having live their life, and see how with the little people they're becoming. It's such a joy to watch. It fills my heart with fun. Right. The totally selfish parts of fun for me is doing this podcast. Because I get to meet people, and I get to turn being a nosy bastard into an actual skill. So if I walked up to people and was asking all these questions, they'd be like, "Oh, nosy." But here, I'm being a courteous, inquisitive host. Right. It's great, and it's just always fun to speak to people like yourself and all the other guests that I've had on, and even the audience that the 5 faithful followers that do contact and say, "Look, I really liked that episode. That was really good." Or someone once contacted me saying, "I listened to one of your episodes of the podcast, and I played it to one of my friends, and they decided after listening to it they need to go and get some help, and they're doing much better now." And just hearing that made me smile from, I looked like the Cheshire Cat on speed. I was smiling that much. Right. I was like, "Thank you so much. That is worth more than anything. It's worth more than any amount of subscribers, any amount of views." It's just that hearing that it's made that bit of difference, it just makes me keep going all the time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I hope that answered your question as best as I could.
That does. Thank you.
Yeah. And Javi, it's been an absolute honor to have you on. And for the listeners, please repeat where we can find you, your socials, your events. As I've been saying recently, sell, baby, sell.
Sounds good. So our website is kidsupfront.com. You'll find there access to all the offices that we have in Canada and all of our content and everything. All of our socials, particularly for the Edmonton office. So my office is Kids Upfront YEG. YEG is the airport code for Edmonton. So Kids Upfront YEG. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And then the other way to connect with us would be, again, The Power of Fun. It's the podcast that we have on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Amazon Podcasts. So The Power of Fun. I'm the host for that podcast. So there's obviously you can find it on our website too, or in any of those. And there's ways to connect with us through there. But those would be, I guess, the main way. So kidsupfront.com may be the easiest way.
Brilliant. Javi, as I've said several times, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Well, you're just as soothing and calming as your absolutely amazing voice. So I can say from right now, you're going to be a great podcast host. You're going to have the middle-aged women just tuning in just to hear that voice. You're going to help so many women in their 40s to 50s. Well, I'll vouch for you. Well, I'll just say one of your reviews, sultry Andrew Durning.
That's awesome. I'll make sure then to when I'm going to record a podcast to yell a lot the night before so that I can get that raspiness in the voice. Yeah.
Just getting that. Yeah. I am here on the Power of Fun podcast. Yeah. You want the best weed. Well, that may sound offensive. It wasn't intentional, and if anybody was offended by that, go fuck yourself. Well, if they know my humor by now, they just know I don't have a filter. And what you've guessed from beforehand, I'm very harmless. If you're not the ginger, we are nice, simple people. So until next time, my 5 faithful followers, I have been Andrew Durban. This has been one of the soundest Mexicans I've ever met. The whole one, Javier Salazar. Until next time, take care, stay safe. Bye bye.